Dear Jennifer, thank you so much for joining our Rehearsing World Citizenship series. In this series, we are interviewing those who are dedicating their lives to the service of humanity in order to inspire and assist youths and educators around the world who are doing what they can with the resources they have and what to advance the consciousness of human interdependence and the realization that the pain of the part is the pain of the whole. Jennifer Tierney is the executive director of Médecins Sans Frontières, Doctors Without Borders Australia, and has successfully mobilized over $1.5 billion in funding for humanitarian causes. During the first 12 months of her tenure, Jennifer has led the development of a new strategic plan with a focus on the intersection of humanitarian work and climate change, diversity, equity, and inclusion in the humanitarian sector, while championing equitable access to healthcare. Doctors Without Borders is made up of tens of thousands of health professionals who provide medical assistance to people affected by conflict, epidemics, disasters, or exclusion from healthcare. Jennifer, could you share with us how your upbringing has shaped your belief in extending solidarity to every human being, regardless of their origin, background, and beliefs?
It's actually kind of a story that you wouldn't necessarily expect to connect to humanity. But my family in Connecticut in the US runs a funeral home, actually. And my grandfather founded the funeral home, my father ran it, and now my brother runs it. And I think it really taught me about community and about reaching out and being there for people at their lowest moments of life and about how important that is. And I think for a lot of people, you know, death and challenges, humanitarian challenges like the ones that we deal with are quite difficult to face into. And, you know, growing up with my dad, he taught me lessons of empathy, right? And care and heartbreak and how to navigate those things. And so I had some great lessons in him. I also grew up in a very diverse community outside of Hartford, Connecticut. You know, I grew up in a public school system and a rather large high school. And I feel like that was probably one of the best educations that I got because there was a cross section of all of us from all backgrounds. And, you know, it was a very formative thing for me to grow up in an environment where we all felt comfortable as kids together, you know. And yeah, I think those two things together are really the central core issues that formed this future for me.
Thank you. And what is the source of your hope and courage to publicly express this universal solidarity, even in the face of criticism and opposition or apathy?
I think the last 6 months in particular have been a very, very challenging time for any of us in this sector, in Médecins Sans Frontières, to continue to keep hope. We are seeing, obviously, the crisis in Gaza, you know, Sudan, Haiti, very challenging moment. But the thing that I always remember is that there are 6 million supporters who are out there behind our doctors and nurses who still have hope, who through their transference of funds and support are giving us a vote of confidence that we can actually make a difference, that we can make a change, that we can not heal the world, because that's not the goal. That's, you know, probably an impossible task for anyone, but to do something in the moment with the tools that we have in front of us. And I think that's part of it, is that we're a very pragmatic organization, Médecins Sans Frontières, in many ways. We really, our aim is to deliver healthcare to people who need it most. And so in that, it is a moment to moment, one patient by one patient approach. And for me, that gives me the understanding that we're having impact, and then the motivation to go on. I will also say my colleagues are some of the most wonderful, smart, dedicated, passionate people. And so it is such a privilege to be around them every day, and such a motivator for me to want to keep representing them appropriately, do them proud. I mean, every time I come off of an interview or a discussion, I always think, oh God, I hope I hope I got it right for them. So yeah, they're the people. And then I have a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old. And so at the end of the day, I don't have a choice. Like, I would like to leave this world, if not better, at least to stem the bleeding a little bit for them, for their future.
Thank you. That's beautiful. And how do you think the youth can remain hopeful and practice courage in their daily lives to be able to extend solidarity to every human being?
Yeah, I think about this. This is such a challenge for this generation. And I think social media algorithms are really making sure that we are all reading the most devastating news that is out there at all times. And so we have this constant stream of bad news that we are absorbing, because frankly, it benefits media companies, because bad news sells better than good news. It's not to say there isn't bad news out there. There is. But they say look for the helpers, and there are a lot of helpers out there. There are a lot of people making a difference. I was on a panel with a bunch of emergency physicians last night, female emergency physicians. I'm not a doctor myself, but they invited me along. And I mean, they're doing amazing things. They're mobilizing around Gaza. They're executing their daily tasks as physicians. They are, and GPs as well, actually, mothers. And so I think we have to take in what's happening around us every day. We have to also, not just read the feed, but pick our heads up and look around at the people who are really making a difference. I'm really inspired by everyone who's standing up around Gaza right now. It's not always easy for folks to do that, and to do that and try and develop an understanding across, arguments and discussions around this conflict and others. I think those people are amazing. People who are making space for dialogue, such as yourselves and others. I think that is probably the most important thing right now, because it's a skill we're absolutely losing. It is diminishing. So I would say to young people, find those people, stick with them, and figure out a way to incorporate it into your life. You can be a banker, but on the weekends, do a food delivery program. Like, there are ways to make sure that you surround yourself with good change. And so many different ways that I just said to my partner last night, who's also works for an NGO, and we're both CEOs and we're executive directors, and life is busy. And I said, I can't wait until there's a moment where I can volunteer more. So we can all find ways at different moments in our lives to do that.
Thank you. And how do you think educators can help youth develop a sense of belonging to one human family?
I think listening to kids, listening to young people is probably the most important thing. I think a lot of adults get a bit adulty and shut down what the youth are saying. And I mean, we're seeing that in university campuses now. and this has happened since, time immemorial. When you look back to the 60s and the protests then, you see young people's views being sort of shunted aside and seen as radical or overly emotional, not thoughtful. I think I was at my emotionally smartest at 16 years old. I truly believe that, because I still had a non-jaded lens of the world. And that non-jaded lens was the most hopeful, the most right, the most correct lens that I ever walked this earth with. It has shifted over time because I've seen a lot of tough things, and I know that the world is a hard place. But I think actually, if we made space to learn from that 16-year-old lens, I think we would be in a better place. Kids, truly, I believe, are smarter than us. We let the previously existing systems, power structures, governments, corporate systems, sort of dictate how we grow into our adult selves. But before all of that corrupts us, we're usually pretty hopeful, pretty smart, pretty wise in our youth. And so I think educators really need to listen to that, because I think that, the youth is doing it better than the aged right now. I'll tell you that.
Thank you for speaking with us today. This was wonderful.
This was
Sure.
really wonderful, Jennifer. Thank you so much.
No.
I think we covered all our questions. Is that right?
Perfect.
Yes.
Yeah, we did.
Thank you very
Excellent.
much, Jennifer.
Oh, no, thank you. And good luck. And I hope it all goes well. And thank you for reaching out to me.
Thank you for sharing your time
Okay.
with us. This was
Okay.
wonderful. Have a good day.
Great.
Thank you.
Bye.